This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. My speakers are not up. Now my speakers are up. In case if you wanted to speak, you can speak, guys. Okay. Just
Yeah,
now
I
my
was
speakers
speaking
are.
about the recording.
Okay. Sure. So I forgot to keep my speakers up. Okay. Thank you, guys. Yeah. Now you can speak as well. Okay. So we'll take one script and we'll play around and we'll see how it goes, guys. Okay. So we'll take one of the recent scripts, guys. So let me go and then open a recent script. Maybe I'll open a script called random. Okay, this is what we have been playing around all this while, something called random. Okay, and here is the purchase of product. Okay, so here maybe I'll take some other controller here wherein I have, okay, I have simple things to do. Yeah, so here is the backup. You see, here is a launch, click login, and you're purchasing a product and then log out. So let me use this script here. Okay, so let me copy that and then paste it in the test plan. Okay, and here I'll call this as, okay, demo of parameterization. Okay, so you see here this particular test plan. Oh, here is a thread group. Okay, it's a separate thread group altogether. So let me move this to okay, let me create a new thread group. Okay, so here I'll say demo of parameterization. So demo of parameterization. So here is a thread group, which means that here is completely different script, and move this inside this one. Okay. So now let me disable everything else. Okay. I have only one thread group, which is demo of parameterization on. In that I have one simple controller. Okay. Let me enable this. And this in this simple controller, I have all the samplers like a launch sampler. Okay. So I have transaction controllers in which I have the launch sampler. In fact, I don't need this simple controller, to be honest. Okay, so let me delete this. Okay, so you see, guys, in this test plan, I have a script called, or I have a thread group called demo of parameterization, which is a script. In that, I have all these samplers called launch. Click on login. Login. This has already been recorded, guys. So I don't want it to record. I want to make use of the existing script. So I'm making use of the existing script. So I'll just do a login and logout, which means that fish product checkout continue. I will disable all of it. So what I will do now, what would the script would be doing? First, it will launch. It will click on the login button. Then it will go ahead and log it, and then it will go ahead and log out. So this is a simple script, which is a login and logout script. Okay, whatever the extra samplers which are there to purchase a product, I have disabled it at this point of time. At later point of time, I will enable that again. Okay, so just to give you a quick feel for the script, I have a test plan. In the test plan, I have a bunch of scripts. So I have disabled all the scripts. I have enabled only one script, which is demo of parameterization. A script here means usually a thread group, guys. So in this thread group, so I have a bunch of samplers which will log in and log out. Okay, so each one is a transaction controller here. In this transaction controller, I have one sampler which will help me to launch. In this transaction controller, I have one more sampler which will help me to click on the login button. Then in this transaction controller, I have two samplers which will help me to log in. And in this transaction controller, I have two samplers which will help me to log out. Okay, or which will log out the script. Okay. Now, in the login piece of code, you see there is a username and password. There is a username and password, which is J2EE and J2EE. So any number of times I execute this script, it will always log in with the same username and password, which is J2EE and J2EE. Okay, this will log in with the same username, J2EE and J2EE. Okay, so now I wanted, okay, let's execute this script for a couple of times, guys. So let's run it with 2 times. Okay, so if I log in with, let's go to this application. Okay, let's go to with the application. So let's go to this application, which is demo kicker. Okay. Now, if I log in with J2EE, let's see what does it log in with. It logs in with a display name called ABC. If you log in with the username J2EE and password J2EE, it will say welcome ABC. Okay. So nowhere it shows J2EE anywhere because they have tied this name ABC with J2EE and J2EE. So let's run two times here. Let's run two times here. Okay, so let me add a listener. Okay, so let me add a listener. Okay, so view results tree. Okay, now in the view results tree, let's see what happens for those two times. Okay, so the very first time, okay, now you can say view in HTML or view in browser is also their option. You can use any one of them and see what happens. Okay, you see it says welcome ABC, which means that it has logged the very first time it has logged in with J2E and J2E, and then it has logged out here. Again it has launched. Okay, then again it clicked on login, and you see it is again trying to log in with J2E, and then finally it logged in with J2E. How do I know? Because the display name it is showing as ABC, which means that it has logged in with the username called J2E and password called J2E. Like this, any number of times you execute, it will log in with the same username and same password, guys. Okay, now I wanted it to run with some other username and some other password. Let's say I wanted it to run with test1 and then test1. Okay, hopefully test1 and test1 is the valid username and password. Let me check that. Okay, so let me see if test1 and test1 is the valid username and password. Oh, it's not a valid username and password. I think I have created a user called Isha Test1. No. Okay. So let me register with some other username, guys. So I'll say test1. Okay. I'll try to create a register with the. I'll try to register for this username called test1 and test1. Okay. So now test1 is a valid username. I'm able to. Oh, it's not there. It's not passing. Just now I've registered, right? Okay, now you see I'm able to log in with test1. Okay, fine. So I'll also create a username called test2 as well, guys, so that I have enough things to play around with. Okay, so enough users to play around with. Okay, so I'm registering for test2 as well so that I can play around with the username called test2. So test2 login. So now test2 is also a valid username and password. Okay, now I wanted this script to log in with test1 and test1. Since I have registered with test1 and the application is able to log in with test1 and test1, now my script, when it runs with the username test1 and password test1, it should be able to log in as well. Okay, let's go ahead and see like if it is able to log in with test1 or not. Okay, so run for one iteration. Okay, go ahead and clear all the results and then go ahead and run it. Now let's see with which username it will log in. Okay, you see the script has logged in with test1. Okay, so if I change the username and password to whatever I want over here in this sampler, okay, it will be able to log in with that particular username. Okay, in case if I wanted the script to log in with test2, so just change the data here, clear the results, go ahead and run it, and then you will be able to log in with test2. I mean the script will be able to log in with test2. So whatever the username and password with which I wanted to do it, I need to change it here. But what I want is now I have changed it to test2. If I run it 100 times, all the 100 times it will log in with test2 itself. Okay, it will log in with test2 itself. That's not I want. Every iteration I wanted it to log in with a different username and different password. For that I have to do something called parameterization. Okay, so what are the different steps that I have to do when I have to do the parameterization? First step, okay, create an CSV file. Okay, create a CSV file. Then add multiple data. In this case, it's username and password. Okay, in this case, username and password to this CSV file. Okay, add the config, or I will say component or element. Add the component / element to your JMX file or Jmeter script. Okay, to your JMX file, so that my Jmeter can read data from this CSV file. Okay, modify the script to take data from this CSV file. Okay, there are 4 steps to it, guys. First, create a CSV file. Then, whatever the data that you wanted to, the data that you want the script to run with, add all the data to this CSV file. So I wanted it to run with J2E. I wanted the script to run with test1, test1, test2, test2, test3, test3, test4, test4. So add all the data to this CSV file. Okay, then make sure that you add a particular element or component to this particular Jmeter file or a JMX script or Jmeter script or JMX file, so that this script, okay, this test plan, okay, this test plan, let's say you call it as a load test. Okay, so this test plan, which is a load test, okay, can take that data from that CSV file, and finally modify the script such that it will take that data from this CSV file. Okay. So first you have to add a component or element to this Jmeter script so that it can read the data, so that the script is attached. The script is attached to the CSV file, so that my Jmeter can, you see, my Jmeter can read the data from CSV file, or in other words, attach this CSV. Okay, attach this CSV file with the Jmeter script. Okay, so what actually happens in this script, that CSV file, that external CSV file that you have created, now you are attaching it to the Jmeter. How? By adding some additional component or element, which we talk about it. What is that element or component? I'll shortly show it. And finally, once you attach that CSV file to the script, it's not good enough. You need to make some changes to the script so that my script will start taking the data or reading the data from the CSV file. Okay, so are we clear with these 4 steps, guys? Are we clear? First, you create an external file called CSV file, then add all the data that you want to this CSV file so that your script will run with the data. Then attach this CSV file with this Jmeter file or JMX file, and then modify that JMX script so that it will start taking the data from the CSV file. Are we clear with these 4 steps, guys? Are we clear with these 4 steps, all of you? Okay, so now how do I create a CSV file, guys? How do I create a CSV file? How do I? Yeah, I totally agree with you, Osman. But just to understand on the high level, I hope this is okay. Now let me demonstrate that. Okay, so how do I create a CSV file? Okay, how do I create a CSV file? Osman says you can start doing it from the notepad. Okay, so let's do it from the notepad itself. Okay, file, new. Okay, so here you can do it from a notepad++ or notepad. Okay, so I want the username to be parameterized, so I'll give a heading as a username and add all the data that you wanted. So J2EE is the first record with which I want the script to log in. Second one is test1, third one is test2, then test3, test4. Okay, so like this you have created all the data. Now my script will run as an ability. Once I attach this CSV file to the script and then modify the script to read the data from this file, the script will have the ability to log in with J2E, test1, test2, test3, test4. Wonderful. Okay, now I'll say save this. Okay, so if I save this, by default, how it is saving, guys? By default, it is saving it as a .txt file. Do you agree with me, guys? Do you agree with me? It is saving as a .txt file. But how do you want it to save it as a .csv file? Let's see if that option is there. Okay, if that option is there to save it as a CSV file. If you see it, let me know, guys. JSON is there, JSP is there. C should. Can you see there is something called CSV file? YAML is there. Oh my God, why it's not showing? Watch carefully, guys. It should be able to. You should be able to. I mean, even though it's not there, there are so many ways that we can say it. But I wanted it to be simple for you. Okay, you have CSS. We have CSV. CSS is there. .csv is there. Okay, looks like CSV is not there in this list. Not sure. Save as type. CSV should be there, but it's not there. Not an issue. Okay, let's call this. Okay, first let's give a file name to this. File name, we'll give it as a user credentials, because this is user credentials. And I wanted it to save it as a CSV file. You just say .csv, but this is not enough. So you have to put a double quotes. You have to put a double quotes. And I will save it in the desktop for now. I'll save it in the desktop now for now. Later on, I'll move it to a right place. Okay. Now you save this. You save this file. You see, it says user credentials.csv, and you go back and check on your desktop. There should be a file called user credentials, and you see it says that you can open this as an Excel sheet. You see, user credentials is the file that I've just saved. I've saved it on a desktop, but how did I save it? I saved it as a CSV file, and it has saved it. And by default, my operating system is smart that CSV files is better to open in an Excel sheet. CSV files, for .csv files, the best application that you can see, that you can use is Microsoft Office Excel. Not necessarily it has to be Excel. You can open it and you can create it and you can see it in a notepad file as well. Okay, so now okay, let me create a new file. Okay, let me create the same. Let's try to create the same file. Okay, or username. Okay, is the heading. So I'll say J2EE. Okay, test1, test2, test3, test4. Let's assume. Okay, now if I save it and say user credentials, this is a demo, let's say demo, and say it's .csv, will it work? Will it save it as a .csv file, guys, in this case? If I just say .csv, will it save it as a CSV file in this case? So guys, will it save? I want to hear from all of you. There are 14 members in the class. Please participate in the class, guys. For some of you, it might be silly. It will not. Okay. Now you see, if I don't put the double quotes, and try to save it as a .csv file, and you're trying to save it on the desktop, it will be saved as a. Oh, it is saved. Usually it doesn't work, okay, but it's a notepad++, it looks like it's working. But if it's just a notepad, it will still save it as a .txt file. Okay, but here in a notepad++, it looks like they have added that additional capability, so that even though you don't put the double quotes, it is still saving it as a .csv file. You see, you go to properties. Okay, so it is still, you see, it is a CSV file. What is the CSV file? Comma separated values files. What is the CSV file, guys? Comma separated value, CSV, comma separated value, and it's a comma separated value. And my operating system is smart enough to understand that comma separated values, it is better to create in an Office file, Excel file, and open in an Excel file. Okay, so even though I've started with a notepad++, it is better to create a CSV file in an Excel sheet, guys. Create an CSV file in an Excel sheet. Okay. Wonderful, Kumar. Now that I've created in a notepad++, let's continue with the notepad or notepad++ itself. Okay, it's better to be created in an Excel sheet actually. Okay, a CSV file. But since you have given me notepad++, I started with the notepad++. Guys, in case if you don't have questions, please mute yourself. Okay. Now I just don't want the usernames, I want the passwords as well. So if I just to put passwords, okay, like this, will it work, guys? Okay, giving a space, okay. So do you think it will work? J2EE, and then for test 1 the password is again test 1, let's assume. For test 2 the password is, let's say, test 2. If I give a space like this, do you think it will work? No. Okay, between two data or between the two different set of values, it's not the space we have to give, it is the comma that we have to give. Okay, why? Because this file is what? Comma separated values. Okay, so the values needs to be separated by what? CSV means what, guys? CSV means what? C stands for comma, S stands for separated, V stands for values. So the values which are there will be separated by a comma. That's why we call this as a CSV file. So here there are two values, which is username and password, that needs to be separated by what? A comma. Okay, as the name suggests, it's a CSV file, so it's better we do it with a comma. Okay, with a comma, because the name itself is a comma separated. Okay, now you see, I have with the usernames and have the passwords, they are separated by a comma. Now my Jmeter will be able to understand that whatever there before the comma, these are all the usernames. Whatever there after the comma, these are all the passwords. These are all the passwords. If let's say if I have one more value, I will say, let's say there is something called display value or display name. Okay, there is something called display name. Okay, again you have to put a comma. For J2E, let's say the display name is ABC. Okay, for test 1, the display name, let's say, is again test 1 only. Okay, so for test 2, let's say it's test 2. Okay, you have to have a comma. Okay, like this you have to give the display name. In case if you wanted to give one more parameter, each one we can call it as a parameter. So each parameter needs to be separated by a comma, because this is a CSV file, which is a comma separated value. Okay. Wonderful. Okay, now I have saved it. Okay, so you see, this is a user credentials. Again, if you wanted to open with Notepad++ or Notepad file, you can do it. You can do it. Okay, so you see, I have opened with Notepad++, but better you open with an Excel sheet so that it is clear. You see, the same data you are able to see it in the Excel sheet, but in a better formatted way. Now it is easy to add the data or subtract the data or whatever it is in an Excel sheet. So better when you create a CSV file, you create it with an Excel sheet, guys. Or you're comfortable with a Notepad++, nobody is stopping you. Or a Notepad, someone stopping you. But when you open an Excel sheet, but the only thing that you need to take care of when you create a CSV file from an Excel sheet is, okay, let's say I'm creating it from an Excel sheet. Okay, let's say this is a username. Okay, so and this is a password. Okay, so username, let's say, is test1, password is also test1. Okay, so let's put some data here. Just select it and drag it, automatically it will add, and then you say increment. Okay, fill. Okay, so it is not working, just give me one moment, guys. So test2, now it will work. Okay, so the Excel sheet is smart enough, it will increment. You see, test7. Like this, it is easy to add the data in an Excel sheet, but the only thing is, if you directly by default you save it, it will try to save it in an Excel workbook. So here there is an option called CSV. Okay, so you see, comma separated, delimited, and give an appropriate value or appropriate name. Okay, user credentials, CERD, let's say CERD. Okay, CERD. Okay, now you save it wherever you want. Okay, but save the type as CSV, guys. Save the type as CSV. Okay, now this is good to go. Now you're good to go. Okay, so you see, now there are two files. One is user credentials, one is user cred. User credentials, I've created it from a Notepad++. User cred, I created it from the sorry, created it from the Excel sheet. Okay, so whichever way you want, you can create it. Eventually the same file will be created. Okay, so the first one will be, the first step is done. What is the first step, guys? What is the step? First step, create the CSV file. Now second step is also done. Add multiple data or username passwords to this CSV file. Okay, this is also done. Now the third step is add a component element to your JSP file. Why you are adding this component? So that my Jmeter script has, why you are adding? So that you can attach the CSV file with the Jmeter script. The simple thing is attaching the Jmeter file with the CSV script. That is the simplest answer. Okay, so why you are adding guys? So that you can attach the CSV file with the Jmeter script. So watch carefully. So what is that component that I need to add so that I can attach that Excel sheet to this? Okay, so watch carefully. Add, go to config elements, and you see the first config element. What is it? CSV data set config. What is it? CSV data set config. Okay, it's not the rocket science to understand. CSV is a comma separated value data set config. So whatever that you created, you can call this as a data set as well. Okay, because it is a set of data. Why? This is all a set of data. So whatever you have created, this is a data set. This is a data set. So what you are trying to add? A CSV data set. Okay, and each one is a config element. This is a config element, right? So they called it as a config. CSV data set config element is what you need to add. So this component is what I expect you to add. Okay, so you see you have added this. Okay, and as per the hierarchy, okay, as per the hierarchy, there is my Excel sheet. Okay, okay, so okay, so you see guys here, as per the hierarchy, if you watch this carefully, okay, let me copy this into a notepad plus or paint so that I can zoom in. Okay, so as per the order of the config elements, I've already explained about this order of this component execution or the hierarchy. So in a thread group, wherever you add, what is the first thing that will be executed? What is the first thing that will be executed, irrespective of how a particular component is added to the Jmeter script? That doesn't matter. The order of execution is important. What is the first thing that will be executed, guys? Tell me. Okay, all of you guys. What is the, looking at this order of execution chart? What is the first thing that will be executed? A config element will be executed at the first, then the preprocessor, then the timer, then your controllers or the samplers, post-processor, assertions, and listeners. So wherever you add this CSV config data set, okay, so in this thread group, you see I have a thread group. In a particular thread group, what is first executed? Config element. So it doesn't matter where you add this config element, first the config element will be executed. Here you see, after all the samplers or the controllers, I have added this config element, but it doesn't matter where you added this in your JMX file. What will be executed first? The config element will be executed. So first your CSV data set config file will be executed, and my script will read all the data which is there in the data CSV data set config file, and then it will start using the data in the samplers. So I just want you to be aware that first the config element will be executed, which means that by the Jmeter, as it starts executing this thread called demo of parameterization, first it will read all the data, or first it will execute this config element. If it executes this config element, it will read the data from your Excel sheet. Okay, I want you to be aware of that. Okay, wonderful. So you need not have to drag it and put it at the top, just to make sure that first your scripts read the data from here. It doesn't matter where it is. So I'll keep it here itself. But if you feel comfortable, if you're putting it at the top, we can put it at the top, so that it's just a comfortable feeling visually that, okay, this is at the top. Okay, now you see CSV data set config file. Okay, so I'll give it a proper name. Okay, CSV data set input for username and password. Okay, so if you want, you can give an appropriate name. Okay, so that later point of time when you look at it, you know what is this CSV data set config file is importing the data. Okay, otherwise you can leave it as it is. Okay, file name, I want my script to take the data from where? From user credentials. So okay, so now browse to that particular file, and then okay, and take that value, which is user credentials. Okay, so user credentials. Okay, now my Excel sheet, or sorry, my CSV file is attached to this Jmeter. Is attached to my Jmeter script. File encoding, leave as it is unless your file is some encoded with something. Variable names, comma delimited. What all the variable names that are there, guys? What all the variable names that are there? Okay, username and password and display name. Okay, I have 3 variable names here. Okay, so you can give variables names. Username. Okay, be careful about the case and all that. Okay, username, comma, password, comma, display. Okay, 3 variables are there. Ignore first line. Should I ignore the first line? Okay, so should I ignore the first line? Okay, only use if variable names is not empty. Okay. So you see, I already have the variable names here, so I will ignore the first name. Okay, so now why you are ignoring the first line? So that the data will be started taking from the second line. Okay, from the second row the data will start taking. If I don't say true, if I say false, this is the first value that will be taken by an Excel sheet. Yes, this is the first value that will be taken by an Excel sheet. So I don't have a username called username, password called password. This is just a heading or the variable names. So I want my Jmeter script to start taking the data from the second row, and that is the reason why I've put it as a true. Okay, and delimiter, what is a delimiter? It is a comma. So the delimiter between these two data, what was it? It was a comma. If you don't understand that, open this same file with a notepad++. Okay, open this same file with a notepad++, then you will understand. Okay, so open this same file with a notepad++, and you understand that between the data, what is the delimiter? Comma. How they are separated? This data is separated, or the variables are separated by a comma. Okay. So it is a comma. All quoted data false. Recycle on the end of file. EOF means what, guys? EOF, what is EOF means? All of you guys, EOF, have you ever heard about this? What is EOF? You can unmute yourself and tell me. What is EOF, guys? All of you? End of the file. Okay. So, end of file. Okay. If the file is ended, okay, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to recycle it? Yes, typically. Okay, because I already hardly have how many? 6 to 7 data, or maybe 5 to 6. Once it is done, it will go back and start taking the first one. So what does this mean, guys? Recycle means what does it do? So once for the first iteration it will take J2E, second iteration test 1, test 2, test 3, test 4, and once this is ended, it will go back and recycle, which means that it will go back and start taking again J2E. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. After 5th iteration, 6th iteration, it will go back and take J2E. 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, 11th iteration, it will take J2E. 12th iteration, test 1. 13th iteration, test 2. Like this, it will continue. Okay? Like this, it will continue. Okay? So, and then stop thread on end of file. No, you don't want it to stop because you are recycling. Sharing mode, all the threads means with all the users. So here, with how many threads you are running with? Only 1 thread. But in case if you are running with 10 threads, this CSV data file is shared with all those 10 threads, or I can say 10 users. Okay, I can say all the 10 users. So whatever the data that you are giving, which is there in this user credentials.csv, now will be shared with all the users. But how many users I have? Now I have only 1 user. But in case you are running with 5 or 6 users, this CSV config file, you want it to be shared with all the users, you can say all users. Okay, or you can say the current thread group or current thread or whatever it is. Okay, so are we clear this? Are we clear? So now if you go back to this, I have not only attached my Jmeter file with the CSV file, but yeah, I have done with this third step. What is the third step? Attach the Jmeter with the CSV file. I mean, attach the Jmeter script with the CSV file. Are we okay with so far, guys? Are we okay? So we have covered 3 steps so far. We will look at the 4th step. Now you see, I have attached this user credentials file with my Jmeter script called load test, the two with a thread group called demo of parameterization. But I need to modify the script so that my script will start taking the data from this Excel sheet. My script will start taking the data from this Excel sheet. So you see in the login, I have a username. Now my script, even though I have attached the CSV file with this Excel, with this Jmeter script, still it will log in with test2 and test2 itself. How many number of times it will run. Now what I want it to run with multiple users. All that multiple users are there are where it is there in this username. Okay. You see the variable name is the username. Okay. This represents the first column of this CSV file. Okay. It will start taking the data from the first column. So you see username. Okay. So, and this one is what, guys? Username is what called? It is a variable name. Okay. It is a variable name. Second, whatever the values which are there in the second column, they are attached to this variable name called password. Let me put it a capital P. Okay, and then display. So this is a variable name. Okay, so any name you can give. I choose to give a name called username. Okay. Now it will start taking the values from this username. Okay, and then password. It should start taking the values from the second column, which is password. And for the second column, the variable name that I have given is password. So is this good enough, or do I need to make some changes here? Is this good enough, or do I need to make some changes here? Notice that username and password are the variable names, guys. Okay, wonderful. So dollar, okay. Now my script will take the value not from the text called username, from the variable called username, and this is from the variable called password. Okay, and the variables, where did you define? You have defined the variables in the CSV dataset config file over here. And what does this variable username represent? It represents the first column in an Excel sheet. First column in an Excel sheet, it will represent this heading, and it will start taking the values from all these values. And the password, what does it represent? It represents the second column in an Excel sheet, which is this column, which is the second column. Okay, and it will start taking the value from the first row, no, from the second row. Why is it taking the values from the second row? Because you have clearly said so. Here you see, ignore the first line. Ignore the first line. If you don't want to ignore the first line, what you would say? Okay, here you have to delete this. Okay, you have to delete this. Okay, now it will not ignore the first line. So this one, it will start taking the values from the first line itself. So this represents the username, this represents the password, this represents the display. Okay. Okay, wonderful, guys, wonderful. So you said ignore the first line, you said false, so it will start taking the values from the first line. I've deleted the starting name. Okay, now wonderful, guys. So we are ready to go now. Okay, so we can execute to see it will run with multiple users. Okay, so let me run it with let's say 5 iterations, because I have data for 5. Okay, 5 iterations. So let's go ahead and run it. Any questions before I execute, guys? Any questions before I execute? So display name, I just added it so that you know that you can have multiple columns as well, not just one column. Okay, or I'll also tell you where I can use the display name here. Hang on there. We are not done yet. So display name, I'll definitely use it. Now that you've brought it up, there is a way I can use it. I can add it as a checkpoint. I can use it for the checkpoint demonstration. Okay. Yeah. Any further questions? Diva, it's a meaningful question. So let me use that at some point of time, since however I have added it. Okay. For me, the purpose was to show that in an Excel sheet you can have multiple columns. But again, there is a way I can use that display name. I'll use it, which is a good demonstration for you. Okay. No questions. Okay, let me go ahead and execute. But before executing, let me take a break of 5-10 minutes. Okay, let me have a cup of tea. You can have a cup of coffee or a tea or whatever you want. So expect the class to go for 30 to 40 minutes after the break, guys. Okay, I hope it is exciting for you to see, like, how the parameterization is done in Jmeter. Okay, so after that we will see, like, how we can randomize the data. Okay, is there a way to do it? We will see it. Okay, so we'll come back after the break, guys. So I'll mute myself. So guys, are you able to hear me? Can one of you please confirm? Guys, are you able to hear me? One of you please confirm. Okay, yeah, others? Okay, thank you, thank you. So before the break, what we have seen is how to do the parameterization to the script. So as a part of it, what we have done, we have created an Excel sheet, or sorry, a CSV file, and we have added all the rows for all the data. Okay, then we have added the config element called CSV data config set. Okay, or CSV data set config. Okay, in that we have given a path for the Excel sheet where it is, and we have given the names, the variable names for each row. Okay, so username, password, and display, and this variable names is where you use that in the samplers where you wanted to parameterize it. Okay, so this is what we have done so far. Okay, now we will go ahead and execute. So first iteration, what is the expectation, guys? With first iteration, what is the username, password with which it will log in, guys? What was the first iteration with which it will log in? Username and password. With which username and password it will log in? The first iteration, Osman says test1. Okay, what about others? Ken says J2EE, Osman says J2EE. Yeah, it will log in with J2EE. And if it logs in with J2EE on the application, it will say it has logged in with ABC. Okay, if it logs in with test1 on the application, it will say test1. Test2 on the application, it will say test2. Okay, let's go back and see it, guys. Okay, so we'll go ahead and execute it. We are executing it for 5 iterations. Okay, let's go ahead and run it. So this is the first iteration, all the way login to logout. Launch to logout is the first iteration. We'll go ahead and see with what username it has logged in, ABC. Are we expected to log in with, expected to see ABC? Yes. If you log in with J2E, the display name is ABC, it will say ABC. Okay, the second iteration starts from here. So it has launched, it has clicked, and then it has logged in with test2. It has logged in with test1. You see, test1. Okay, the second one, the third iteration, it is logged in with test2. Okay, so then the fourth iteration, you see, it was not able to log in because there is no username password called test3. If you see, we haven't registered test3. We have registered only with test2. So it was able to log in. Test3 you are trying to log in with, it says it is not possible. And same thing with test4. Okay, same thing with test4 as well. It is not able to, because if you create those data, then it will be able to log in with that particular data. Are we clear, guys? Are we clear? All of you so far? Wonderful. Okay, now typically it's better you have the second sampler is where you have the okay. So what I will do is I'll put an assertion point, okay, for this one. Okay, after this one the logging in is happening. Okay, so we'll put an assertion point here. Okay, response assertion we can put it for the display name, which is ABC. Okay, so the display name, which is ABC, I have added the assertion, and it said if I'm able to log in properly, I'm expected to see a text called ABC. But this ABC will be there only for the first user. But with the second user, if you're logging in with, then you'll be able to see what? Test1. Okay. With the third user if you're able to log in, then you will be able to see test3. So you can't put ABC or test1 or test2 because that value is changing all the time. But for whatever the value it is changing all the time, that value is stored in the display name. So you have to put the text checkpoint on this display name. Okay, are we clear, guys? Because the display name changes with the username. So if you're logging in with, let's say if you're logging in with if you're logging in with J2E, the display name should be ABC. That display name is stored in a variable called display name. Okay, if you're logging in with J2E, the display name is ABC, so it is stored in a variable called display name. So the response assertion, I'm putting it on the variable called display name. Does it make sense, guys? So Divan, now are you okay? Like how I'm using this display name? Guys, is this okay? Response assertion, I have put it on the variable called display name because the display name holds the value which actually displays on the application. Okay, if you're logging in with J2E, the display name is ABC, test1, the display name is test1. So whatever you log in with, that particular text is stored in a variable called display name. So I'm using that display name in the response assertion. Okay, now you see, for now the expectation is for the first three iterations, since you have the valid username and password, you expect the script to pass. The last two, you expect the script to fail. Okay, since earlier okay, I've cleared it. Okay, hang on guys, I'll disable this and I'll run it. Now you see, without the assertion, it shows pass for all the iterations. You see, if you see, this is the first iteration, this is the second iteration, this is the third iteration, and you see this is the fourth iteration. You expect the login sampler to fail. Why? Because you see it is not able to log in properly and expect you to fail, but the Jmeter by itself doesn't have the capability to tell you if something is a pass or a fail, and that's the reason why now you have added the response assertion. Okay, once you add the response assertion, it will show the fourth and fifth iteration as failed. It will show fourth and fifth iteration as failed because you are not able to log in successfully. Now you see, I'll enable this response assertion. Okay, I'll clear all this log in the view results tree. Now you see, for the first three iterations, it will show as pass, and for the fourth and the fifth iteration, it will show as fail. So it is supposed to show as fail, but it might not, because it will still have a display name of test3 and test4. So it might not fail, because you see, what do you say? Okay, you see the login. Okay, test4, it is still showing up here. You see, test4 is still showing up over here. Okay, and then here test3 is still showing up over here. So that's the reason why it is not failing. But had this test3 doesn't show up at all, then it might fail. Okay, so here the username and the display name is same. That's the reason why it is not failing. So what you can say is, what you can do is, probably when you log in, okay, okay, salt water, fresh water is a text that you're supposed to see. So you can add one more text called salt water, fresh water. Okay, so hang on, copy. So I'll add one more text called salt water, fresh water. So you should not only see the display name, but also the salt water, fresh water. Okay, so it should contain both of it. Okay, so let's see now what happens. First iteration, you expect it to pass. Second, third, okay, fourth and fifth. You still seeing it? Why the response session? Hang on, guys. Maybe I'll put the response session under login. Why it is passing? It's not supposed to pass. Hang on, guys, 1 second. This one, okay, if you go to the HTML data, okay, or text data, do you see salt water here? No salt water. Okay, so maybe it is taking as an or, then this text or this text. Is that what it is? Okay, hang on 1 second. Or is response assertion working at all? Response assertion might not be working at all, because you have added to an element which is disabled, so it might not work at all. Okay, hang on guys, 1 second. Now let me see. Login is passing, or it is failing here. Okay, wonderful. So now it is supposed to fail. You see, it is supposed to fail here and it has failed here. Okay, so earlier you have added at a wrong place. You have added to an element which is disabled. Okay, now you see response session, I have added it to the login and it is working. It is not supposed to pass here. It's not passing, so it is saying it has failed. Okay, why it is failing? Because it is supposed to contain salt water, fresh water, and it's not there, and that's why it is failing. And here also the login is failing because it is supposed to contain salt water, fresh water, and it is not there. Okay, so it is passing over here, and you see it is passing over here as well, and here it is failing again. Not sure why it is failing. Oh, because test2. It is supposed to contain test2. Have you not logged in with test2 here? Or it is saying test1 itself. Okay, so it is supposed to contain test1. Hang on, I think I've put the wrong data here. It says test2 here, so it has to be test1. You see, you log in with test1 and test1, it is supposed to display the name called test1. Okay, so I have updated the Excel sheet now. It is supposed to work for the second iteration. Okay, now you see why it is failing. For the second iteration it is supposed to pass, but why it is failing? Because incorrectly you have put the text checkpoint on test2. It is supposed to log in with test1. You see, it is supposed to log in with test1. You are supposed to put a text checkpoint on test1. My Excel sheet was incorrect, so that's the reason why it is failing for the second iteration. Otherwise it would have passed for the second iteration. To demonstrate that, I'll execute again. Okay, now you see, for the second iteration it has passed. You see, test1 and it has passed. Okay, but third and fourth it is supposed to fail, and it is failing as well. Why? Because salt water, fresh water is not there. Okay, once you log in, you are supposed to use the salt water, fresh water. Supposed to see that it is not there. It is there. It is not there. That's the reason why third and fourth is failing. Now you know the importance of assertion points as well. Okay, have you understood, guys? Have you understood the assertion points? Have you understood the assertion points now? You're not supposed to enable this element, guys, because this is a redirect and redirecting to this. So you're not supposed to enable this element. It's supposed to be disabled. Okay, but internally it will execute, but looks like the response assertion is not happening on this one. So I've added. Let me see if I add it on this disabled one. Now this will work or not. Let me see. I don't think it will work. I don't think the response assertion will actually be. No, it is not. It is not working, the response assertion. So it has to be on the one which is enabled. Okay, so wonderful. Okay, any questions, folks? Any questions on the parameterization front? Any questions? Okay, all clear? All clear? All clear, everybody? Okay, good to go. Okay, wonderful. G to G is good to go, right? Is that what it means? G to G? Good to go? Yeah, yeah, okay, wonderful. And if you have seen carefully, okay, the first one, it tried to log in with J2, J2E, okay, the first iteration, it is logged in with J2E, J2E. The second iteration, it has logged in with test1. The third iteration, it has logged in with test2. And if you notice, it is going sequentially, okay. So let me take away this. Okay, so if you notice carefully, okay, if you notice carefully, it is taking the values sequentially. First iteration it has taken J2E, second iteration test1, third iteration test2, fourth iteration test3, fifth iteration test4. So it is taking the values sequentially. Okay, what if I have to take, if I want the Jmeter to take the values randomly from this Excel sheet? What if I wanted the Jmeter to take the values randomly from this Excel sheet? Is it possible? To be honest, it is not possible with this config element called CSV dataset config. It is not possible. There is no option called pick the values randomly. Okay, then how do we do it, Kumar? So what we need to do is you go to the plugin manager. I've already shown you how to install the plugin manager, guys. If not, you go ahead and go back and refer to my previous classes to see how to install the plugin manager. Have you figured out, guys, all of you, how to install the plugin manager? By default, this plugin manager will not come with the Jmeter. You would have to make some changes to have this plugin manager in your Jmeter. Have you figured out, guys, all of you? Do you know how to have this plugin manager added to the Jmeter, all of you? Okay, yeah. So in the plugin manager, you see installed plugins. These are all the installed plugins. But you see available plugins. You see, go to the available plugins and search with CSV. Okay, I search with CSV, and there is one CSV called random CSV dataset. You can explore this one as well. Variables from a CSV file. You can put different variables and take it from there. You can explore this. Okay, but you see, and on a plugin, if you need additional help, let's say I wanted some help on this plugin called variables from CSV file. You click on it and you see the regarding documentation is over here. Okay, related documentation is over here. You can go through the documentation and see how to use this particular plugin. Okay, so there might be of some use for this. For now, I wanted to use this one, which is random CSV dataset. Okay, the related documentation is over here, which is there in the GitHub Jmeter. You can get it from there. But I know how to use it, so I'll not open this. But in case if I don't know, you click on it, it will go there, and people will tell you how to use it. It's not too difficult to use it. Here they will give you a picture, and here it will tell you how to use it. Okay, fine. Now you go ahead and they say apply changes and restart Jmeter. Without this, this plugin will not be installed. So do remember that as soon as I say apply changes and restart Jmeter, my Jmeter will be restarted. Okay, you see now it has downloaded, it has installed, and it is restarting my Jmeter. Wonderful. Okay, now my random CSV dataset would have been installed. So how do I know if it got installed or not? Right click on it, and this random CSV dataset config file, where can I expect to see it in case if it got successfully installed? Where can I expect to see it, guys, from this list? Where can I expect to see it from this list? Okay, so can I expect it in the samplers or logic controllers or config elements or listeners? Okay, I expect it to see it in the sampler. Okay, TestD says sampler. Okay, what do you guys say? So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. Where can I expect it to see? In the samplers 1, logic controllers 2, config elements 3, and then listeners 4. Where can I expect it to see? Where was the CSV dataset config file? Where was the CSV dataset config file? In the config element. So this random CSV data is more like a CSV itself, and that is also a config element, and that needs to be executed at the first in the Jmeter script. So this random CSV dataset file should have been in the config element, and if you go and search, it is there in the config element, which is the random CSV dataset config file, and you have added. Okay, so I'll disable this one. I don't want the data to be taken from both these elements. I'll disable this one for now. Okay, so I'll take the values from there. Exactly whatever the features you have it in the CSV config file, the same options they are given over here, except that you can do it in a random order. File name, you have to give the file name. Go to the desktop. The file name is there on the desktop, which is a user credentials. Okay, wonderful. File encoding, you can leave it as it is, or you can delete it. Is it a comma separated? Yes. Variable names you have to give it. Okay, username. I'll copy the variable names from this. Okay, instead of me typing it, I copy it from the earlier config file. Okay, so do you want the data to be picked up randomly? Yes. Rewind on the end of the list? Yes, which means that recycle. First line is the CSV header. No, I am not given any names, any headers in the CSV file. If you have any doubts, you can go back and see it. You see, from the first line itself, the data is there. I haven't given any headers as such. Okay, so you said no. Okay, so if the first line is the header, you have to check it, but it's no. Independent list per thread, no. For all of them, it's the same thing. If you wanted to test it, you can test it. You see, oh, there seems to be an error. What could be the error? Or the UTF maybe needs to be there, maybe UTF-8 needs to be there, maybe. Yeah, looks like you should not delete it, guys. So this needs to be there. Okay, but earlier, file encoding here we have left it empty, still it worked. Okay, by default UTF-8 should be there, I believe, over here as well, but without having anything also it is working here. Okay, so but here, okay, UTF-8 should be there. Okay, you see it is taking the values. For the first iteration it is taking test2, then test1, test randomly it is taking, if you can see it. Okay, you see, every time you test, randomly it is taking the values. You see test again, first iteration it will be test1. Again you say, then first iteration is test3. So randomly it is taking the values. Okay, you see here, first iteration it has taken test3, then J2E, then test1, then test4. Randomly it is taking the values and it's repeating the values as well. Okay, wonderful, guys. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and execute it again, just to show that randomly it is logging in. Okay, let's see with what is it tried to do it for the first time. Let me go ahead and look at the response data and the response body in what? In the browser mode. Okay, now it tried to log in test 4. It is supposed to fail. It has failed. Okay, that is the first iteration. It tried with test 4. Second iteration, it tried with test 1. So it has passed. Then the third iteration, test 3, it has failed. Fourth iteration, test 2. So like this, the values are picking up randomly. The values are picked up randomly. This is how you can have the values picked up randomly, okay, in Jmeter. Are we clear, guys? How? With a random CSV dataset config file. In the interviews, if they ask you, how can you parameterize randomly? Simply say that, go to the plugin manager, install the plugin called random CSV dataset config file, and then use that particular config element to in your scripts. Okay, wonderful, guys. Okay, so one more thing now. Where is your script? Where is your script? Let me see. Where is your script? Save the test plan as. The test plan is random CSV data set. Okay. What is the script name, guys? What was the script name? Random JMX. Okay. So random JMX. Okay. The script is there in the desktop. This one is also there in the desktop. But for example, let's say the script is there. Okay. Hang on, guys. 1 second. Okay. So here. Okay. So let's say the script is there in this folder called D Apache Jmeter scripts. Okay, let's say the script is over here. Okay, so let me save that script. Okay, save that script, save the test plan. Okay, and you're trying to save this script in Jmeter. Okay, and you create a file here, create a folder here. Okay, folder called, this is the script name, let's say random CSV demo. Okay, let's say this is the script name. So create a folder called random CSV demo. In that, save this script. Okay, save this script called random CSV demo .jmx. Okay, .jmx. Okay, so you have saved this script where? Save the script in this Apache Jmeter script random CSV demo folder. In that I have saved the script. The script is at one place, the Excel sheet is in the other place. You know, it's confusing, guys. It's confusing. So better, wherever the script is, you put that Excel sheet of that particular script in the same folder. Okay, so I'll move this particular Excel sheet or move this CSV file. Okay, move this CSV file into the same script. Okay, now you have the script, you have the related data as well in the same script. Now the path of this Excel sheet has failed. So if I try to execute this, it is supposed to error out. Let's see if it will error out. Okay, you see the errors. Okay, you see the errors here, guys. Okay, so you see, how do I know there are errors? You can see it is the arrow mark here, like a triangle symbol with 8 errors it has shown. I wanted to see the errors. Click on that. Okay, click on that and you will be able to see the errors. And you see unknown source. What is the error? Okay, so if you go back, okay, let's run it for only once because you know it is showing the error so many times. So let it run only one time so that I can clearly show the error to you. Okay, it has run only one time. Now you see, carefully observe. Okay, started reading the file from where? From C user3 desktop and user credentials file. It is trying to go to the desktop and then it is trying to look for the CSV file called this one. And you see, cannot initiate random CSV reader because of the error. So what is the error? The system cannot find the file specified, and then it has given the related errors to it. Since the file is not there in this one, my script is failing. So what you do now, you go over here and you say browse and you go to that particular folder. Okay, where your script is. Okay, sorry, where your data is. Go to that folder. Okay, and then point it out to the file. Now you go ahead and run it. It will run. Okay, now you see there are not errors. Oh, there are errors. Hang on. Or no errors. You see, no errors, 0 errors, and it is executing, and you are able to see the output as well. You are able to see the output as Okay, if you have any doubts, clear the data and run it. You see, you are able to see the output as well. The script has failed because of other reasons. Okay, so it says invalid. It has trying to take test 4 and it has failed because of that, but not because there is an issue with the data input source. Okay, now you have given the right path. You have given the right path. Okay, are we clear, guys? Are we clear, all of you? Since the folder and the script is in the same folder, I think this one also might work. Let me give it a shot. Okay, let me give it a shot. Yeah, it will work because you see the script and the data is in the same folder. My Jmeter by default go and search in the folder where the script is. Okay, so my script is there in the same folder as my data. My Jmeter is smart enough to go to the same folder and look for that file, and the file is not there, then it will throw the error. So you see, I haven't given any path, but the script is still passing. The script is still passing and is still able to execute. Okay, so let's say you run it for 5 iterations, it will go ahead and run it. Okay, okay, so you see it is still passing. See, it is running for multiple iterations. You see, it is able to still pass and log in with ABC. So if okay, if the script and the data is are there in the same folder, you need not have to give the entire path. You need not have to give the entire path. Just give the file name. That should be good enough. Only it will work if the script and the data set, okay, is there in the same folder, or the CSV file is there in the same folder. Then it will work. Otherwise, it will not work. Okay, are we clear, guys? Are we clear? We are just trying to play around and explore, guys. That's about it. Okay, that's what we are trying to do. Are we clear, guys, all of you? Okay, if the script and the data set or your Excel sheet is there in the same folder, then you need not have to give a path, it will still work. Okay, wonderful, guys. So that's it for today, guys. So assignment, create this simple script and then and purchase a product, okay, and then okay, 1 second. Okay, so when you purchase the product, you have to enter the card type, card data, expiry date, bill to first name, and all this. So parameterize all this. What is that you parameterize? The card type, credit card name, expiry date, first name, last name, address 1, address 2, cities, state, and zip. I want you to parameterize all of it because these values will change from iteration to iteration. So when you purchase the product, okay, you'll be able to continue, and when you continue, you need to give the data, you need to parameterize all of these values. Okay, so parameterize all of these values. That is the assignment for today. I'll shortly tell you quickly. Okay, so for this one, I'll create an Excel sheet, another Excel sheet altogether. Okay, so let me say new. Okay, and then CSV. Okay, where is an Excel sheet here? Database. Worksheet, okay, and then I'll say this is purchase details, okay, purchase details, okay, and you save it as a CSV file. By default, it will try to save it as a XLS, but I'll try to save it as a CSV. Okay, I don't think it will work. It is still an Excel sheet file. Okay, save as, it is an Excel sheet, so okay, save it as a CSV file. Okay. Okay, delete that one. Okay. Okay, so I've created a CSV file. Okay, fine. Okay, so CSV file here. I'll only parameterize only one few fields, guys. Not all the fields. I'll parameterize card type. Okay. You are expected to parameterize all of it. Credit card number, CC number. Okay, and I'll only parameterize 3 of them, not all of them. Expiry date. Expiry date. Okay, so credit card type, I'll say for all of them, I'll say Visa only. Okay, oh, it has to be like capital V, small y, say. Okay, credit card number, any 16-digit number I can give. Okay, the first thing I'll give the same value. Expiry date, any expiry date I'll give you. Okay, this one. Okay, but you're supposed to parameterize all of them, not just the first 3, all of them. Again, I'll give only Visa cards. Okay, credit card numbers, I'll give different credit card numbers. Okay, so okay, instead of 999, I'll put 990. Okay, 990, and then this is 991. Oh, this is incrementing like this. No. Okay, so copy it, and then I'll put this one as 991. Now my Excel sheet will be smart enough to expand it. No, it is not doing still. Okay, so 992, 993 is what you can give here. Okay, 992 and then 993. Okay, expiry date 3rd December. Okay, 4th December, 5th December. Okay, so but expiry date is in this format 12/13. Okay, 12-03. No, it is not taking it. So let me put it as format this. Okay, put it as general. Okay, now it will take 12/08/03 is what it is. Okay, but still it's not working. Maybe I should format it as a text maybe. Okay, let me try to format this 12/03. Okay, now it is taking. Okay, and then here I'll say 04, and here I'll say 05, and here I'll say 06. Okay, okay, now okay, so I want this since it is in the same folder, I need not have to give the path. Okay, so I want the CSV file, so I need not have to give the, oh, okay, hang on. Okay, so this is the file that I have to delete. Actually, this is the CSV file. You see, properties, it is the CSV file. Okay, so I just need the name because I don't need the path, because my script and my data set or my Excel sheet is in the same folder, so I don't need a path. So this time around I'll add a instead of a random, I'll add a sequential data set config file. Okay, so here so I have two of them here. So one config file is for one Excel sheet, the other config file is for another Excel sheet. So variable names, okay, I can pick up the variable names from here, okay, from the Excel sheet itself. Okay, so okay, I'll pick it up from the Excel sheet itself, but there should be commas between each of them. Okay, so first line, ignore the first line, no, the first line you ignore the first line, false, so it should be there. This is right. Now credit card type, you can go back and then put it here, and then dollar, that's a credit card type. Okay, password, sorry, not password, it's not the password. Then the CC number, okay, dollar, okay, and finally the expiry date. But I have only parameterized the 3 values, but you are supposed to parameterize all of them, guys. You are supposed to parameterize all of them. Okay, you're supposed to parameterize all the fields. Okay, wonderful, guys. Okay, now let me enable all of this to see if it is working. Okay, so enable that one, enable all of them. Okay, now let's see if it actually I'll run it for 4 iterations. Let me see the values will be taken accordingly or not. So here the values should be, okay, there seems to be an error when we give some this one. Okay, so you see, first name, last name. Okay, please confirm. There is a way to check what is the values that, oh, it has not even logged in. It is trying to it's not okay, logged in with test2. Okay, I know why it is not why it is failing. Again, it will asking you to log in. I know the reason for that. You need to do something called correlation. Okay, so that will work only after the correlation is done. We need to correlate these two values, which we will talk about tomorrow, guys. So once we have correlated these two values, it will start passing. but the expectation it is supposed to pass, but when you ask it to check out, it is logging again because the login has not properly logged it. Okay, there seems to be an issues. Okay, so now I know why it is failing, even though you have given the right data. It is not because you have parameterized it is failing. It is because of other reasons it is failing. Okay, but anyways, I want you to parameterize all the values, whether they are passed or failed. It doesn't matter. Okay, so don't worry about it if it passed or failed. But I want you to parameterize it. I know why it is failing and what needs to be done to pass as well, which we will do it tomorrow, which is the correlation part. Okay, but this is how you parameterize it. Okay, this is how you parameterize the values. Okay, now you can parameterize the other values as well. Are we clear, guys, all of you? Ignore only the one which has failed, guys. There are some failures which we will fix tomorrow. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it tomorrow. But other than that, how to parameterize it? Is it clear absolutely for all of you? And have you understood the assignment as well, guys? All of you? Have you understood the assignment? All of you? Okay. Wonderful. Okay, there are only 2 S's by the end of the class. I hope everybody was still listening. Okay, so please get done with your assignment tomorrow and submit the assignments. I'll review your assignments tomorrow. If you do this particular assignment, which means that you know how to record it, how to play back, how to parameterize it, which is good enough, and you have to put the assertion points as well to see if properly the checking is happening or not. Okay, when you create the scripts, assertion points are mandatory. Okay, not for one sampler but all the samplers. For every single sampler, it is better to put a assertion points, or at least at the main places where the things has to happen, you have to put the assertion points where the validation happens or where you want to validate. Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you for joining in. I hope you're still enjoying. It's a long course. I think we have started 2 to 3 months back, or maybe 4 months back. It's a long course. I know it is hectic, it is overwhelming, but we are coming to the closing of the classes, guys. It might take maybe 1 more week, and then we will be done with the classes. Once the correlation is done, there are a few things, okay, how to look at the reports, how to design the scenario, how to run it, which might take 2 to 3 days. Correlation might take 2 to 3 days, and then there are a couple of concepts like integration with Jenkins and doing running in a master slave configuration. So it might take maybe 7 to 8 classes overall, guys. So probably by the end of next week we will be done, guys. So this week we'll try to wrap up correlation and then also how to run it in a master slave configuration. Then next week we'll design a scenario, we will run it, and we'll look at few graphs. Okay, and somewhere halfway through, maybe like in the probably somewhere, if I have time, I'll show you one simple script as to how to create in a something called bean shell. Okay, maybe it might be helpful. Okay. We'll look into that, Diva. So Pongal, I don't know, maybe I'll give you 1 day leave, not more than that. Okay, because New Year we have given enough leaves, so we'll try to wrap it before that. Else we'll take 1 day leave for Pongal. Okay, for that festival called Pongal. I know it is on 14th, so maybe on 14th we'll take a leave, or 13th, 14th. We will see how we'll talk to the people and we will plan accordingly. Okay. Okay, guys, so we'll wrap up. Thank you for joining. See you tomorrow.